We've shifted locations again because it's just about dinner time and my family is making a lot of noise. So we're back here in the boudoir. I can't believe I just said it. I'm in the bedroom with, hundreds of my friends. Okay, anyways, there's a running joke at my events that there's usually a token guy who speaks, and I don't want you to get the idea that our final presenter and our final keynote of this event is by any means token. Steve Wiltshire is the CEO of Lifeline Coaching and Training, and he is such a heart-centered, compassionate man who really believes, as I do, that your best success comes from giving from a place of service. So I'm here serving you today, and then I'm compensated appropriately, divinely, if you will, for what I bring to the table. There are a lot of male trainers and speakers in the industry who don't get that. They're all about the hard sell and the push, and that's not what I teach. So it's challenging for me to find people, men especially, who'll come to the table and understand that that's not the message I want to bring. Well, Steve's here today to give you guys the last hurrah of the event, and he's going to show you how to create the ultimate extraordinary experience for your guests and hosts at the parties that you're doing. So if you've ever really wanted to maximize what goes on at the party, and who doesn't, right? Well, this is for you. So listen to Steve and hear what he has to say, and then come back to me after his session is over, and I'll give you some special juicy information. We'll see you in a bit.
Thank you, Lisa, for the opportunity to participate in your business breakthrough conference, and a huge acknowledgement for the work that you're doing in our industry and the world at large. I love your authenticity. I love what you're about. And I want to applaud each of you, every one of you, for investing your time in the Business Breakthrough Conference. It truly speaks volume about your commitment to your business and your deepest intentions for being in business. I mean, come on. How do we get what we want? How do we get what we want? Regardless if it's getting in shape or maybe a personal desire you might have, like buying a home or maybe enrolling your children in a private school, or you want to experience greater consistency with your income, which maybe has you feel secure. I mean, we first must know exactly what it is that we want. And then we get educated. We get educated by finding the right resources or coaching, and then we take action by stepping into commitment over and over and over again. So acknowledge yourselves for being here. You and I are in this game called life, and you're in this game called direct sales. And if you don't know how to play the game, life can feel kind of happenstance, as if there's something happening to us, when all along we just haven't learned how to play the game effectively. And we know in all games there are techniques, there are ways of being that help us play the game more effectively and more efficiently. And when we couple our God-given talent with those techniques and our way of being, we're able to play the game effectively. And it's as if we learn how to play the game naturally. I can remember several times in my career where I didn't know how to play the game of direct sales. And I can distinctly remember the frustration, the lack of confidence I felt. I was 17 when I started direct sales, right out of high school. I couldn't get a booking to save my life. I mean, I could find friends and coworkers and my friends' girlfriends and neighbors and relatives to book a party for me, but I certainly didn't get any bookings at my parties because my party experience was far from extraordinary. And then I remember 5 months into the game, running out of parties and going to my leader and saying, I really want this to work. I don't have any parties up. And I remember the conversation we had. And I remember getting that I had to get educated. I remember thinking, this is not brain surgery. I have to get educated. If I want this, I got to go out. I got to watch parties. I got to get educated. And within 2 weeks, I went to 8 parties. And all of a sudden, what looked like I had nobody else to call turned into 20 parties in September, and I ended up doing almost 70 parties between Labor Day and Christmas, and everything shifted for me. My confidence shifted. I look back, I built a $19 million business. Everything shifted for me when I learned it all had to do with getting educated. Well, what if you could choose? How about if you could attract the ideal hostesses, the ideal parties, the ideal numbers of parties up in your calendar, and you were continually filled with the ideal numbers of parties? I mean, what would that be worth? What would that provide in your life? That's the objective. Our objective is for you to become seasoned and consistent as a direct seller. And what we're really up to is learning how to continually duplicate business from our parties, your parties, and then teach others how to duplicate that process. So I got a question for you. Other than your company, have you ever attended a party that was absolutely over the top? It was extraordinary. You loved everything about it. Everything about it. When I ask that question at a seminar, I do hundreds of seminars every year around North America, and I might have about 2 or 3 people raise their hand and say they had a 10 experience. And when I asked them what made it a 10, usually it was the participation, the energy of the rep, how that rep made them feel. It had nothing to do with product knowledge. I mean, they created an over-the-top, extraordinary experience, and it didn't matter what company they were talking about. They laughed, they had fun, they had girlfriend time. The experience was over the top. I mean, let's get honest. If Oprah launched a national survey with 5 million Americans and asked them the question, hey, how extraordinary was your experience at your last home party on a scale of 1 to 10? What average score do you think that survey would generate? Maybe a 2, a 3 at most? Think about it. What is your typical guest experience on an average day? What do they go through on an average day? Now, when I ask that question at an event or a seminar or a convention, everybody's talking, they're throwing out a ton of stuff, and I'll say something like, okay, so if this is what your typical customer is going through on an average day, what do you think life's really like for them? I mean, let's say that your typical customer was awoken on a 4 o'clock in the morning from their guardian angel, and their guardian angel said, hey, hi, I'm your guardian angel, and I know you're stressed out. What? What do you mean I'm stressed out? Well, I mean, I'm your guardian angel, and I'm going to open up Thursday night. I know this has really been a tough week for you. God, I shouldn't have taken that Benadryl. I know that oh my God, what's happening to me? And she said, no, listen, I'm going to open up Thursday night. Well, I got a PTA meeting. Well, yeah, I'm going to cancel it. What do you want? Do you want a date night with your husband? Do you want a Calgon night, a glass of wine, and a good book? Do you want to go out to happy hour with your girlfriends, or do you want to go to a direct sales party? And when I throw that out, everybody starts laughing because we know most often they're not choosing door number 4. It just isn't happening because most direct sales representatives don't create extraordinary experiences. It's not modeled in our industry. So the big question you always want to ask yourself is, what's going to make this experience over the top, extraordinary for my guests? Well, I want to share 5 success strategies on how to create a wow experience at your parties. And I want to hear from you. Every week, my company raffles off complimentary courses and prizes for everyone that shares their takeaways on my business page. Visit me at Steve Wiltshire, Lifeline Coaching and Education. I'm looking forward to answering your questions and reading your takeaways from this training. So here we go. Success strategy number 1. Theme parties and extraordinary invitations attract greater attendance. Theme parties draw crowds. Think about it. It's your hostess's friends' night out. I mean, what does your hostess want to experience, right? Do you remember that movie, What Women Want, by actor Mel Gibson? Remember that? If you want to give extraordinary, you got to look at it through the lens of the guests and hostesses you're serving. It doesn't matter. I mean, I really love that phrase. what is that phrase? What I offer is the value I offer is always determined by the other. What do they want? I think a lot of direct sellers want their hostesses to keep it simple. They just want to keep it simple, or they don't want their hostess to acquire any expenses, right? Shelley, let's keep it simple. How about a pot of Folgers and a bundt cake? I mean, seriously, really? Oh my gosh. I mean, heavens, if you asked Lifeline's manager, Joan Bartosh, to keep it simple, Folgers and bundt cake, I mean, she'd cancel. She just doesn't know how to do that, nor does she want to, right? Stop controlling your hostesses. It's their friend's night out. It's not your party. Really, you're not the host. You're the rep. I mean, what does she want to experience? What's going to make that experience extraordinary for her? You want her to get so excited about her experience, her gig, that she takes the baton and she goes for it. So, hey, let's discuss the various ways your hostess can invite her guests. How are guests invited to your hostess's party? Well, the obvious are a verbal invitation, or text, or Facebook, Evite, hard copy invitation through the mail, right? So we're talking about extraordinary. Can a text invitation be extraordinary? How about an Evite? Can that be extraordinary? How about Facebook? Can that be extraordinary? Not really. I mean, extraordinary and average can't live in the same world. And I believe that the only extraordinary invitations can be the personal invitation from the host, the call, the connection, and an invitation sent in the mail. An envelope, sending an invitation. So think about this. Do you really think your hostess will take the time to personally invite all her guests? Those days are over. Do you think your hostess will give you an invitation list with 40 guest names and addresses of those guests? Those days are over. And do you really want to spend $20 on postage? Probably not. Well, I've nailed this one. I've nailed this one through the interaction of many of our gold members in my one-year program who are hosting $1,500, $2,000 parties selling $8,000 to $15,000 a month. These are representatives that had a hard time selling over $1,500 that are consistently experiencing these over-the-top, extraordinary sales and extraordinary, well, sales averages and sales. I guess so listen carefully. What you really want is you want your hostess to take the time to take action within 48 hours of the time she schedules her party and have contact with her friends, or what's going to happen is booking remorse starts to set in and you'll end up with a cancellation. So here's the antidote. Write this down. What you want is you want to incorporate suggested text messages, suggested Facebook posts, personal invite, and extraordinary invitations as options when coaching your hostesses how to invite their guests. So in service of time, we're going to spend our time discussing what I call the extraordinary written invitation. So imagine this. You're connecting with a guest, right? And you say, Janie, you're so much fun. I want you for a hostess. What do you think? And she says, sounds great. And you say, awesome. I can't wait to spoil you and your friends. Can you give me 5 minutes before you leave and we'll chat about your party? And she says, absolutely. Sounds great. So I call this the initial hostess coaching. What's really happening here is that you or the rep's going to set up this conversation with that new hostess. And I call this the initial hostess coaching. And you're going to discuss the date of when you're going to set up the hostess coaching appointment, the date of the party, and you're going to have a conversation with her about the various ways that she can invite her guests. Now, most of my members in my protege program, my one-year protege program, who've taken, top personal sales awards. They've just got high successful personal sales, even successful sales producers on their team. They ask their hostesses the question, who do you really want to spend your special night with? And they distinguish their hostesses what I call VIP guests. They're wanting to know, okay, who do you really want to hang out with? Who would you love to have at your party? If you had like 7 or 8 of your favorite friends at your party and it was over the top, who would you love to hang out with? Now, we call these the VIP guests. And they offer to mail those VIP guests an extraordinary invitation. So think about it. What do you do when you receive a wedding invitation or a birthday invitation? Hello, it goes on the refrigerator, right? Or it goes under the fruit bowl, and you're opening the refrigerator all the time. You got to see it, right? That's what happens, right? Well, if you were to receive a written invitation to a home party, okay, a boring home party, which they usually are, right? If you were to receive a written invitation to a home party, what would move you? What do you think would inspire you to want to attend? What if you went to your mailbox? You have 7 articles of mail. You got 4 with a window. Woohoo! Got a bill. Can't wait to see how much George charged on the Visa card. And then you get a couple of advertisements, right? Credit card application for a mere 21% interest. And then you notice that you have this colored envelope. And this colored envelope has the name of your friend on the top left-hand corner. And even maybe a sticker on it. And you open it up and a little bit of confetti falls out. And there's this fun flyer. And it says, help wanted, guest for party, fun-loving, laughing, kick up your heels kind of person, willing to devote time to liven up a party. And in the middle it says, if you fit the above description, join me for a friend's night out party. And it's got the theme. And then you notice, there's a invitation or a trifold catalog invitation, maybe even some on-time drawing coupons, just an extraordinary, over-the-top invitation. See, the key here is you want to capitalize on what others aren't doing. Extraordinary and average can't hang out in the same team. So, if you'd like a complimentary copy of our invitation, the on-time drawing coupon, and a recording on, we call it your blueprint to filling up your calendar, just go to my site at www. We know that the 3 W's always hang out together, right? lifelinecoaches.com. Register for my free VIP program. And it's right on the top right-hand corner of the site. And you can get a copy of my invitation, the on-time drawing coupons, and also a free recording on how to fill up your calendar. All right? Success strategy number 2. Create an extraordinary 20-minute guest connection. I held 5,000 parties when I was in the industry. I was in the industry for almost 19 years. Several years I sold $100,000, eventually transitioned into building an empire. I was fortunate enough to build a multi-million-dollar team. And what I realized is that whether you book parties or not, it greatly depends on our ability, your ability to connect. Question for you. Have you designed a booking and recruiting environment? Well, the first 20 minutes is all about the theme, all about the food, all about the beverages, the music, the ambiance, the connection, the fun. Like the difference between shopping at Walmart and shopping at Nordstrom's. It makes no difference whether you're in $1 million home or a studio apartment. It's about creating this extraordinary experience, this extraordinary environment that just engages people. And what you're going to realize is that it's a lot easier to book parties and recruit people when the environment is ideal, because attraction just is. People don't even know why they're attracted to it. They just are. It just feels good. Just, all you got to do is walk into a Walmart on the 23rd of December, then go turn around and walk into a Nordstrom's on the 23rd of December. It's an entirely different experience. Okay, I want to give you some tips. The first tip is that I want you to design the 20-minute guest connection with your host during the hostess coaching. What does that mean? The theme, the environment. Now, I'm going to give you a few coaching tips. Most direct sellers hostess lecture. They don't hostess coach, they hostess lecture, all right? What does that mean? Hostess lecture is like, I'm going to need an invitation list of 25 to 40 guest names and addresses back so I can send them an invitation. You're going to need to have, you're going to want to give everybody a call and personally invite them to your party. You're going to want to call them a couple days before showtime. No, that's lecture. Coaching is asking questions like, what kind of theme do you think your friends would enjoy most? Great question. Or, who do you want to invite to your friend's night out experience? Who'd you love to spend the evening with? Great question, right? What do you want your environment to look like? Do you want candles? Do you want music? Do you want, you're getting curious about what she wants. And of course, they're going to ask you, well, what kind of themes do you have? So like wine and cheese tasting, Mexican fiesta, Saturday continental brunch, maybe a chocoholic party, right? Or even happy hour. Don't have to vacuum, cook, or clean. Second tip, I call this the 48-hour call. What happens about 48 hours before showtime? Call your hostess, she calls you back, and most direct sellers say, "Hi, Lisa. It's Steve Wiltshire. How are you?" And she says, "Great," which means, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait. I can't believe. My party's in 2 days. I don't know who's coming. I got so much going on." That's what that means. And then we ask them the worst possible question. We say, "Well, how many guests are you how many guests are you expecting?" It's like, da na 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 na. I mean, that's the worst question. And some of us are really creative. We'll say things like, I want to make sure I have enough clipboards. I want to make sure I have enough product. About how many guests are you expecting? That's the question they don't want to be asked. Now, obviously, you want a forecast of what to expect, or you want to know how much money you're going to make. I mean, this is opportunities to kind of check out where you are mentally. But when you ask the question, who's hanging out with us on Thursday night? It's a whole different question. Who versus how? And she says, "Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Thelma and Louise are coming, and I forgot to tell you, my party shirt on. This is why I'm wearing my pink shirt. I only wear my pink shirt when I'm doing my party experience. But Thelma and Louise are going to show up, and Jennifer Aniston's going to be here, and Julia Roberts are going to be. I mean, when you ask her, who are you looking forward to seeing Thursday night? It's a great question. And then you're able to say, instead of, well, you better call, you want to call everybody to check in with them. People are so busy now, they need a reminder call. How about if you said, who haven't you heard from that you really want to spend Thursday with? Who haven't you heard from that you'd really like to see on Thursday night? Changes the whole energy. And then they tell you, and you say, give them a call. Tell them you want to hang out with them. Third tip, arrive early. Set up your display and support your host. This is about you. I call this last minute hostess coaching. You want to get there early. You want to make that connection. And you think of Thanksgiving, it's interesting. You think of Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is a time where, we get together, we connect, but after dinner, there's usually about 2 people in the kitchen cleaning up. That's usually what's going on, right? And you want to be one of those 2 people. I remember when my son was about 6 years old, and I really wanted to teach him gratitude and service. And I looked at him and I said, "Hey, Quinn, I got a big surprise for you." And I was kind of building this up. We were going to go have dinner with a couple of friends, and I kind of overbuilt it up. By the time we got there, he's like, "What's the surprise? What's the surprise?" And I brought him in Dan's office, and I looked at him. I said, "Well, here's the surprise. We are going to clean up the kitchen after dinner to really let Dan and Daniela, don't you love that phrase? Dan and Daniela, this couple, know how much we appreciate them having dinner. And he looks at me, he's like, I don't want to. And I remember the feeling he had afterwards, after a couple of times of doing it. And just, he's 15 now, and every time we have dinner somewhere, he always says, okay, is it time? Is it time? That, there's this acts of service, this energy that happens before those guests arrive. You're in the kitchen, you set up your display, you go in the kitchen, and what can I do? What can I do? You're excited, you're getting excited. What are you drinking? You're opening up that bottle of wine or making that coffee. So it's really about connection. Fourth, you want to ask your hostess if she'll introduce her guests to you and if you can serve them. And that's a really important question because it sets you up to make that connection initially when they walk in. There's just something about handing them that glass of wine or handing them that cup of coffee and making that connection. And that's also happening in the kitchen during that last minute hostess coaching. Fifth tip, first 20 minutes, all about the guests. You want to ask yourself, what are the guests going to experience? What's the ambiance going to feel like? They ring the doorbell. What are they going to hear? What are they going to feel? What are they going to smell? I mean, why do people get excited when they hear a blender going? You can create this whole energy that's going to make bookings come easy for you. It's all about that first 20 minutes. Tip 6, focus on connecting instead of marketing. 3 questions I want you to ask. How's your day? How do you know Lisa? What can I get you to drink? Think about it. The doorbell rings. Your hostess answers the door, hugs her friend. Hey, Julie, how you doing? Gives her a hug, and she says, Julie, this is Sarah. Sarah, this is Julie. You put your hand out, you shake their hand, and you say, how's your day going? And she says, great. Now, I say you take that a little deeper. So what's making it great? Usually what you're going to hear is drama, story. Oh my gosh, if my boss could just let me get out of work by 5 o'clock, it would have been a great day. Or my husband, he's always late. I don't know if I can make it here. And whatever their story is, you get to say, you are so in the right place. We're going to have a great time. How do you know Lisa? How do you know the host? And she tells you. It's a feel-good kind of question. And then it's, what can I get you to drink? Now, if you've got 10, 12 guests coming in at the same time, you're probably only going to be able to serve 2, 3, or 4 guests. But the objective is that you get around to all 12 guests within that 20 minutes to connect, not talk about your product, not telemarket, not sell. 8, tip 7, self-management. Others will create an opinion of you within the first 7 seconds. Others will create an opinion of you in the first 7 seconds. When they walk in, how are they going to feel? Now, I think what happens often before a party is the most important part of the setup. When you are driving to your parties, are you thinking, I don't want to go, I'm not into it, or I'm driving a half an hour, I bet my hostess is only going to have 3 or 4 people. And if you're putting out your hand and you're getting ready to shake their hand, and you're, hi, I'm Steve Wiltshire, and your thoughts are, I don't want to be here, my spouse is mad at me, I'm out of here in a couple hours. Do you think you're going to attract what you want? Tip 8, transition. This is where you transition from the 20-minute guest connection into your agenda, which is sharing your products. And I think the greatest way to do that is to go to your host and say, are we ready for the on-time drawing? And this is where those certificates work perfect, all right? So, and it doesn't matter whether they got one in the mail or they arrived on time or your hostess simply told them we're doing an on-time drawing or early bird drawing. The objective is that you want them to have 20 minutes to connect, have fun, and then you want to transition into the party experience, okay? Success strategy number 3, spoil your hostess. I had the pleasure of having the top personal producer on my team 3 years in a row. I'll never forget watching her at conference in front of thousands of people get an award for the top producer, and then the next day watching her on stage train about the party experience. I'll never forget this as long as I lived. I'm sitting in the audience thinking, I have got to go watch her do a party. I mean, she lived an hour away from me. Her party experience was over the top. And one thing that she said really resonated with me. She said, nobody sits by my hostess but me. I spoil her over the top. You don't have to work as hard at getting bookings or throwing out all these booking tips if you just spoil your hostess. And she taught the audience lead lines. She said, I always segue from lead lines and lead questions. And so here she is, 20 minutes into her gig. They're having a great time connecting, enjoying the theme. And then she goes to her hostess and says, all right, you ready to do the on-time drawing? And then the hostess gathers the guests and she sits by the host. You might stand, either way works. And then she looks at the group and she says, ladies, before we do the on-time drawing, who's our star tonight? And they say, Lisa. And she made a big deal about it. I did this for years. All right, let's give Lisa a good round of applause. Woo-hoo! And then you look at the host and you say, great party, great friends, great fun, great theme. And then you tell them how you met her. You're going to kind of walk through that story, something like this. I had an opportunity, and you'd be looking at the host. Okay, so if she's sitting right next to you, you're going to be looking at her and then looking at the guests and then looking at her and then looking at the guests. And so something like this. Ladies, I had an opportunity of meeting Lisa a couple weeks ago. She came in the party a little bit late. It was her neighbor's party, Jackie. She's not here tonight. Had been kind of a tough day, and you're going to tell the story, whatever the story is. You want to be authentic. And when she started playing with the products and started partying with the guests, she was so much fun. I knew I wanted her for a hostess. And you're looking at her, so you're kind of going back and forth because you want this to be real. Like, I'm looking at you right now on the screen, and you're seeing me look at you. And you're not going to be looking at the audience. You're going to be sitting right next to her, and you're going to be talking to her directly. And so there's this connection, like you're really authentic. You're saying, gosh, she was so much fun. I knew I wanted her for a hostess. And at one point I went up to her and said, you like way too many goods. We got to have a party. I want to spoil you. What do you think? And so you're creating this connection and you're telling the story. And then the whole idea is that you pick up a card or something, really extraordinary. You look at the guests and say, okay, so ladies, I picked up a card for Lisa from us to her that shares basically what I think you're all about. It says, rainbows are people whose lives are bright, shining examples for others. Shine on, shine on. The world needs more people like you. And then you pass around the card, have them share a word that expresses how they feel about their friend, or one phrase that expresses their friend. Give them tickets, have them write down a word or a phrase that best describes their friend on the card. They love it. Whatever you do, you want to create some extraordinary experience that wows her, that wows the guests. And the guests are sitting there thinking, you know what? I'm having a bad week. I want that rep to come to my house and spoil me in front of my friends, okay? So I got to tell you, it's one of the greatest tips that we hear at a seminar, and people email us back and they say, my hostess or my hostesses love being acknowledged in that way. Success strategy number 4, create your irresistible booking offer. You want to create a booking offer that wows your guest. What does that mean? Well, you have 3 objectives. You've heard this. You want to move, touch, and inspire your guests to want to host a party. So what would engage your guests to want to host a friend's night out party? Let's set this up. What's happened up until now? You've arrived early. You set up a beautiful display. You've given yourself plenty of time to connect with your host. We call this last minute hostess coaching. And then 20 minutes of guest connection. You've done your on time drawing. Now you're spoiling your hostess. You've done that. You've acknowledged her. You've shared your story. You set up your introduction, you kind of set up the party. You're showing your products to your guests. You're having them write down their favorite items on a wish list. And then about halfway into the party experience, you're going to share what I call your irresistible offer, your booking commercial. So you look at the guests, you might lean forward a little bit and say, so are you having fun? And they say, yeah. They're going to, obviously respond. If you did something like spa, you might say, how do you feel? Got to know your product, right? And so I look at the guests and say something like this. If you're having way too much fun and you think your life is way too responsible, maybe even a little bit boring, you might want to decide to take a break from the craziness of life and get your favorite friends together for a friends night out party. Let me tell you why, because you're going to get me and I'm going to spoil you. And whether we do a wine and cheese tasting or a Mexican fiesta or a continental breakfast, Saturday continental breakfast, or if you don't want to vacuum, cook, or clean, we can do a happy hour party in a restaurant or martini lounge, or even a pizza parlor. You might want to even have a Taste of Italy party, a little bit of lasagnas, Italian food, whatever your thing is. I'm going to spoil you, and I want you to know that I'm committed whether there's 2 guests there or if there's 15 guests there. And we're going to start your party off with, and then you go into sharing a little bit about your hostess plan, lead them to a guest care card, have them indicate their interest on a scale of 1 to 10 about learning more, 1 to 10 about hosting their own party. I've got a great guest care card. In fact, that's on my site. Just visit my site, lifelinecoaches.com, and click on the VIP link. You can get a guest care card, a wish list. We'll set you up with all that, okay? Success strategy number 5. Choose your ideal hostesses. Okay, you're partying. You're enjoying your guests. You're inviting your guests to host parties. Come on, what do you really want? What do you want from each party? You want fun guests. You want an engaged hostess. You want an extraordinary theme party. So let's talk. What are some of the reasons why direct sales professionals are having such a difficult time attracting guests to host parties? Good question. Bottom line. First, deep down, they really don't believe the experience is valuable for the guests. Or they have this kind of deep-seated opinion of this industry. They might not even be aware of it. You might not even be aware of it. They might feel as if it's kind of a tacky industry. They might have kind of a Walmart feeling about our industry instead of a Saks Fifth Avenue feeling about our industry. And one of the ways to shift that is that, and think about it, it's about beliefs. So one way to shift that belief is to get extraordinary. Just be extraordinary. If you want to get extraordinary results, you want to create an unbelievable party experience for your guests and hostesses that's going to wow them. I can tell you that I've never been a fan of shopping. I don't like grocery shopping. I don't like shopping at all. But I don't like grocery shopping. And I'll never forget the time that I was with my son and I walked into this grocery store, and I had been to this grocery store so many times, and we were a tad bit late for an event, and I had a breakdown in one of the aisles, and I looked at Quinn and I said, I hate this store. I am never shopping at this store again. And my son was 12 years old, and he's like, what's the matter, Dad? And I said, you can't find anything in the store. They got toilet paper on one aisle. They got paper towels on another aisle. They got napkins on another aisle. I said, how many times have I been to this store? I can't find anything in this store. And then I'm going to go up to the line. I'm going to go up to the cashiers. There's going to be 3 cashiers that open, and there's going to be 7 or 8 people online. Then I'm going to get up to the checker, and she's going to be like Eeyore and Winnie the Pooh. And he's like, I said, I'm out of here. And my son was like, what's up with you? And I kept hearing about this store called Trader Joe's. And I'd been there a couple of times. And, I got to tell you, such a big difference. You walk into Trader Joe's, the energy's there, they're happy, they're playful. And I remember one time asking the manager, acknowledging the manager of the store. And it didn't matter what store I went to, what Trader Joe's I went to. You might not have Trader Joe's in your area, but the service is over the top. It's absolutely extraordinary. And I remember acknowledging this store manager. I said, I can't believe the service here. I mean, the service is extraordinary. The people are extraordinary. The experience is extraordinary. I said, you really give them the wow experience. And he looked at me and he said, I can't believe you just said that. And well, what's so funny? He goes, well, the first 48 hours of our training, the first 2 days of our training, is all about how to teach our employees to give our customers a wow experience. Well, let's talk about another reason why direct sellers are having such a difficult time attracting guests to host parties. You might lack vitality, or they lack vitality. How interesting. They lack vitality and their conviction in their offer, meaning their vitality in life, their vitality in energy, and their conviction in their offer. And part of the reason for that is that they're too focused on themselves and the outcome instead of serving. Service is the highest activity to which we can aspire. And when you get in that state of service, you're detached from an outcome and you're living a life of vitality. So you might ask yourself, well, how do we do that? You got to improve the quality of your life. You need to have more fun. You got to fill up your life cup. I know it sounds almost like a dichotomy, but at the end of the day, we're in the party business. We're in the people business. If you have more vitality in your life, you're going to attract exactly what you want. So take the attention off yourself and exude joy to everyone, everywhere you go. All you got to do is study 5-year-olds. I mean, most children are fully self-expressed unless they're raised by parents who don't allow them to be who they are. Think about it. Have you ever ran into someone in public and you're in a public setting and they're with their 4 or 5-year-old and you're trying to have a conversation. They're like, I'm sorry. And the kid's just, like touching things and, all crazy and just kind of running around a little bit and just kind of doing their own thing. And, and you can tell that, the parent or the person you're running into is a little bit uncomfortable. And the truth is, they're just being their curious, natural self, right? Everything changes from the time we begin kindergarten. We're taught what to think, we're taught what to say, we're taught when to go to the bathroom, what's right, what's wrong, and it continues through grade school, into college, and into our careers. And many of you are probably thinking, well, what does that have to do with getting bookings? Self-expression. I mean, many of you have never worked for yourself, you've worked for somebody else. It's like even a person working in a cubicle, it's like, often with a great idea and your boss is like, you just need to get back in your cubicle. That's kind of the look we get. We're taught to follow instead of lead. And what you want is you want to become expressed, self-expressed. I mean, what does a 5-year-old have to do with getting bookings? 5-year-olds are self-expressed. Like, a 5-year-old that wanted something might go to his mom and go, Mom, there's this place called Sky High. Joy was telling me about it. It's got all these like trampoline things. And Mom, can we go? What do you think? Authentically, self-expression. Think about what do bookers have in common? their authenticity, their self-expression, they've got conviction. These are attributes that engage guests to want to hang out with you. So you want to focus on attributes of reps that get bookings. So what are they? They're fun, they're playful, they're joyful, they're enthusiastic, they're loving, they're humorous, right? And think about Hollywood stars that offer, they offer that. They play the same characteristics in most of their movies. And we know that those same characteristics, the same stars that play those same characters would be awesome in our industry, like Jennifer Aniston or Julia Roberts or Reese Witherspoon. I mean, you can hear Jennifer Aniston, right? Imagine that. She's taking an order and she's like, Julie, I mean, you like way too much product. I mean, you don't want to buy all this. I mean, let's get it free. I want to do a party for you. What do you think? Or a Reese Witherspoon. You are so much fun. I want you for a hostess. What do you think? So the third reason most direct sellers aren't getting bookings is that they focus on everyone instead of zoning in on the guests they really are connecting with. I mean, how many times have we heard in this industry, be sure to ask everybody to host? I mean, really, seriously? I mean, do you want to book the negative Nora? Or do you want to book the boring Barbara or the sarcastic Sarah? Not that you really have a judgment, but give me a break. Would you date anybody? Would you date anybody, but we're supposed to ask everybody to book? I mean, think of Forrest Gump at a bar. Walking into a bar, you're beautiful. Will you go out with me? I love your jewelry. Will you go out with me? You're sexy. Will you go out with me? I mean, give me a break. You get to Jenny, and Jenny would say, run, Forrest, run. I mean, you got to hold some value. Look at the experience you offer. Do you value what you offer? I mean, if not, then create an extraordinary experience that's going to blow your guests away and even impress you, that's going to blow you away. And then give the best of you. Because at the minimum, you offer a break from children, husbands, and business to hang out with friends and enjoy the really, really important things in life. Relationship. Okay. So you've created this extraordinary party experience, right? Guests and hostesses are having a blast. The host has a great theme. Candles are burning. Music is playing. Guests are arriving. You're joyful. You're confident. You're fun. You're connecting with all the guests. After a while, you're choosing a few of those guests that you really want to host parties for. You're noticing the guests that you really connect with, and you're saying things like, you are so much fun. I want you for a hostess. What do you think? Remember the 5-year-old? You love way too many items. You want to purchase all that? You don't want all that? Let's host a party and get them for free. What do you think? Or you're taking an order and you're saying, what are your favorite items? Or, is that what you want to get tonight? And I don't know if I can get everything. And you're saying, well, let's get it free. How about a wine and cheese tasting party? Throw out your themes. How about a Mexican fiesta? What do you think? And you do it with conviction. So I want to challenge you to take a few hours, create your version of an ideal party experience. I have several complimentary videos and tools and programs on my site that will support you in exploding your personal business. I want you to know that I very rarely wear my pink fuchsia shirt unless I'm actually sharing the party experience, because it's all about expression. I want to hear your takeaways. Visit us at Steve Wiltshire, Lifeline Coaching Education, my Facebook page, or visit our site at lifelinecoaches.com. Every week we host a drawing from my current courses and from everybody that shares a takeaway about any of my trainings on our Facebook page. And I want you to know I'm so honored to have this opportunity to serve you. Love and success to you.
Whew, Steve, I want to thank you so much for your time, for that powerful presentation, and for the really great gift that you're offering everybody. Getting bookings, I told you guys earlier, that is like the #1 complaint that I hear from consultants and even leaders. Leaders write to me saying, I need help. My team needs more bookings. I need more bookings. And here's Steve saying, here, You can just have it. So go ahead and click on that link and take advantage of that audio and the other downloadable gifts that Steve has available for you at no charge. And I really want to thank each and every one of you for joining us today, because I know it's a big deal to take the time out of your schedule to be able to come and spend the day. You know, some of you are nursing babies and skipping meals and really focusing in on this so that next year can be powerful for you. And I want to let you know how you can take this even further, and it's not going to cost you anything. Because you are a participant in this event, we have created a private Facebook community just for you guys. And you'll be getting an email link to that group within the next day or two. As long as you're on the mailing list, you'll get that invite. And go ahead and join. And what I'm going to do, because I'm really committed to you guys having a fantastic next 12 months, I'm going to gift to you my Get Your Year in Gear program. It's an annual planning process that I myself use to lay out the course of my next 12 months, and I do it after Thanksgiving every November. And I taught it live this year, and I want to give that to you. So that will be waiting for you in the Facebook group when you join. And I'll probably throw a few other goodies in there as well, because I'm retiring, y'all. I don't need to keep a stockpile of direct sales training material. So if you're in the group, you'll get a bunch of other bonus goodies as well. And again, that's my way of saying thank you to you for sticking with me this whole day. You had a lot of information thrown at you. I hope you took great notes. If you've got hand cramps, like I know some of you do from taking notes, and you're not sure you got everything, remember that you have the replay tomorrow, unless this is the replay that you're watching. And for those of you who have basic level access or VIP level access, you also have another 5 days on top of that to get access and watch the replays. And if you're a VIP, you have the downloads. If you want the downloads and you're not a VIP, there's a link on the page to do that, and you'll get all of that in an email. I didn't want to bog you guys down with a bunch of that kind of information, because really this is about celebrating my retirement. And I must say, this was the most awesome retirement party I have ever had, and I'm really glad and grateful that I was able to share this time with you. And I hope you got something out of it that you're going to be able to go and take out into the world and make your best 2014, your best next 12 months. Because that's what I wanted to do with this. I didn't want to leave you guys hanging. I'm retiring. I'm going away. My brain's going somewhere else. But I wanted to share with you these brilliant minds that I know, so that you could find someone else that you know, like, and trust that you want to work with as you move forward in your career. So until next we meet, one last time, in blessings and peace, everybody. Thanks for joining me, and have a great night.